What are the downsides to hyperbitcoinization?
This is a trap question.
Not really, because I've talked about it a lot on the show, and I think there are short-term negatives and then long-term positives.
A great way to think about this transition is this idea of peaks and valleys. So peaks and valleys are emerged like in biological adoption or evolution is, you get this peak of dinosaurs, the lizard species, the peak of them, and they capture energy from the sun and are cold-blooded. And then, we had a decline. And then now we have the peak of mammals, or, mammals are still ascending, and, we've become sentient and can observe our consciousness and are manipulating our environment and starting to harness energy. So like now I think we're climbing way higher than that previous peak. So I see Bitcoin as evolution. So when you're like, what's the downsides of evolution? I'm like, we're getting better. We're evolving. Human beings will be able to allocate capital better. That's going to change our brains. We'll be able to manage our resources better. That's going to help the environment. We are going to be able to own our time better. That's going to help our happiness and our freedom. And, maybe we'll have some more time to allocate capital towards causes that have long-term perspectives. I think it's going to be a rough ride. I think that there's going to be a valley to get to this next peak, but I think Bitcoin's evolution, what's the downside to getting better? Well, I guess the bad shit died. So, I'll shed a tear for that. I mean,
it wasn't a trap. It was more pointing at that. It's going to be a rough ride.
Yeah. 100%.
So if we didn't have Bitcoin, this fiat crash, this unwinding of the massive amounts of debt in the system is going to happen. This end of this cycle would happen. I'm not smart enough to say what the transition would be without Bitcoin, but my assumption would be a great reset of sorts, a new bread and words, remonetizing of the world on another fiat standard. Perhaps we would flip to a gold standard again temporarily and then come off it again. Who the fuck knows?
Maybe China.
That's
what Dalio thinks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe China. Who knows? But with Bitcoin, we have moved to a Bitcoin standard. I can't say in the short term, if we didn't have Bitcoin and we went to a new fiat standard, or we have Bitcoin and moved to a Bitcoin standard, once those standards happen, which would have a net more rough, which would be a net rougher ride, like a managed global elite remonetizing on new fiat standard might be a bit more stable because there's some control they can put in place. They control armies, they control the banks, yada yada, they control the capital. On a Bitcoin standard, it's more decentralized. It could be more rocky. It could lead to different types of poverty, famine, and war that we aren't prepared for. And I don't know. I think there's no way of knowing. But I can't talk about, when I make the show, I can't talk about the migration to a Bitcoin standard and not talk about how rough the ride will be, what are the potential risks, how people should think about preparing, because this is real life. Yeah, you understand where I'm going with this?
Yeah, 100%. And I can only promise that it's going to be clowny. So, clown world is dangerous. It's really dangerous. The clown world kills. So, I don't know. I think people need to have their, if we are truly in a transition, I think we are evolving to a higher standard, to a higher way of doing things that are going to make us better as a human species. It's going to help us, manage all of our resources better. But it's going to be painful. There's no way to convert that much value into Bitcoin without volatility, pain, and fighting. But it's coming. So prepare for it. I'm trying to give Bitcoiners a pep talk. Prepare for hyper-Bitcoinization. It's coming, and it's going to be messy.
And again, you think a decade, are you running the thesis by other people? Do people agree with you, disagree?
There's the people who think it's going to take, not in my lifetime, and then there's people who think it's going to happen really fast. I think it's going to happen really fast because technology built on top, exponential technology built on top of exponential technology. iPhone came out in 2008. We're in 2022. Everyone has an iPhone or a smartphone. It didn't take that long, and Bitcoin's built on top of that. And then even more so, cell phones blew up, and that wasn't with desktops shooting themselves in the foot. That wasn't with telephone communication, systematically dismantling itself. So, yeah, I'm just looking at the signs, and I'm making what it seems to be a pretty logical conclusion that this is going to happen pretty quickly. How long did it take for Uber to dismantle the taxi industry?